I don't care who it was.
Looking bloody nice there, mates.
I'm pretty happy with that, actually. Remember, we're not fabricators. Not fabricators, everybody. Not fabricator.
Not a fabricator, he reckons. Yeah, that's just not even any type of standard.
Don't like it.
It's basically just stuff you pick up from the dump.
For a backyarder. Backyard job.
Nice.
Backyard operation.
Yeah, Flano says it all.
Hey, this is my best welding jacket.
We're going out welding jacket.
Yeah. It's where I go to all the conventions and meetings.
Righto, guys. As you can see, she's coming along pretty well. Welcome to the next episode. Just chill to the next episode. Developments, developments, developments. The owner would actually like to run a BOV. The owner actually particularly likes the sound of a blow-off valve, which is obviously something that we never really deal with. We don't really put BOVs on anything unless they need them. Obviously this thing doesn't need one, but the owner does particularly really want to put one on it. So you can buy TurboSmart make like dual port blow-off valves where they have one port that plumbs back, one port that vents to Atmo. And then they come with a bung, so you can bung either one off, which is basically what we're gonna have to do because the way this is going to be set up and all of the efforts we're trying to do to make sure everything's sealed up, we can't just have a blow-off valve on here that just vents to atmospheric. It's not going to work because it's going to be unsealed, which in an off-road vehicle where you're looking at water and things like that is obviously not cool. That's just not going to happen. So basically what he's going to have to do is run the dual port blow-off valve in a recirculated configuration for the most part, especially when he's off-road. Whenever he's off-road, it's going to have to be recirculating because it's the only way to keep the system sealed. And then when he wants to make noise, when he wants to play on the street or whatever, he can just basically put the bung in the other side, in the recirculating side, and put a trumpet on the other port, and then allow it to sort of have the noise and seal up the port. So that's pretty much how it's going to have to happen. So we changed a few things. So Rex was originally going to mount this power steering reservoir that we bought sort of here, right in the middle of the fans there.
It was originally going to go in this corner.
Yeah, originally, yeah, was going to go in that corner. But the issue with that is even though it fits there, once it's mounted, you can't get the intake pipe in and out, which is obviously a problem. As you can see, or as you would have been able to tell by this build series, a lot of emphasis goes on making this thing easy to work on and you know, get around. It's the same way we build pretty much everything we try and build. So this was the original position that this was going to go. But if we want to put a BOV, we're pretty much going to have to put a BOV off this intake pipe here. So this is going to get moved over to the side here a bit. Gives us a little bit more room off this intake pipe to put a BOV. So we'll put a blow-off valve off that. Sort of right off the front of the throttle body. It's where it's going to get the most rush of air. This is the best position for it. And then the plumb back is going to have to run pretty much back over this way and then underneath the donut.
I'm going to go over the top.
You're going to go over the top? Right.
Yeah, because with the intake pipe on there, if you want to take the intake off, I suppose you could get at it through there, but it just seems easier to
put it over the top.
Just undo it from the top. You take it off and then the intake pipe comes off.
So the issue is we can't run the BOV recirculated straight back into the donut portion of this intake pipe because with the nub on it, or with the little port on the intake pipe, you won't actually be able to get the intake pipe on and off because it's going to fail on the fans and stuff trying to get it in and out. So
even on the rad.
So basically the pipe's going to have to come over the top and onto the next section of intake, which goes up to the filter, and that's where it's going to recirculate to. And that's where it's going to be operating for the most part. And then, yeah, like I said, when he wants to party on the street, he can pull the recirculating part off, bung that part of the blow-off valve, put his trumpet on the other port, and go and make some noise and be happy days. So, you know, we've obviously, anyone who watches the channel knows that we pretty much never really dealt with blow-off valves. So we sort of don't know what we're, like, we do know what we're doing, but I don't really know exactly how they work or how to get the noise or the right noise or what noise they make, because I'm a huge fan of dose. So I'm a dose man. So anyway, it's a bit disappointing, I reckon, that we're not going to hear this thing dose, but hey, it is what it is. We get to hear it go, Zoo!
I'm going to disconnect the BOV while I'm tuning it. I won't have it.
Rex won't have it.
No, I will not have it.
So anyway, we'll get that ordered and modify this, but hopefully with the port on that pipe, and then the port where we want to put it on this thing, hopefully everything will still be able to just go in and out exactly as we expected it or made it to. You know, hopefully all Rex's work is still exactly how it should be. So, next thing that we're having issues with, the dump pipe, where we wanted to put the oil air separators over there above the heater lines, which Rex has just chucked in for illustrative purposes. There's no way for us to get that low enough with the fittings on top of it to clear the bonnet and not be a pain in the ass with the heater lines.
You got to have it straddle them like that,
yep.
Which is gonna be kind of shit, and it puts this one pretty close to the dump pipe.
So the drain backs to the sump come off the bottom, so that's the issue we're having here.
I mean, even over here, still too close to the dump, too close to dump, kind of just shit. So, as much as it annoys me, I'd rather do this right, and I'm just going to remake this coil bracket and move each set of coil packs out with the two coils, so they'll come out to there, they'll come out to there, and I'll include the oil air separator in the center of them like that in the same bracket. So that'll sit back there, right in the middle. And I'm going to do that rather than just move all of them over and have this on the end, because it's going to annoy me for the rest of time if these are offset.
It has to be symmetrical.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
It just has to be. Yeah. It has to be symmetrical.
It does. Like I reckon that's what V8s look the best. I'm all about symmetry. So.
This thing's hell symmetrical with this big turbo off one side.
You know what I mean. But where you can get symmetry.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to just have them all off to one. It'll just be dumb. Like all these, like if that moves across to there, all these leads are going to come this way. All those leads are going to. It's just going to be stupid. Why would you do it that way? Can't believe you're even suggesting it.
But isn't that going to move those coils pretty close to that dump?
No, it'll only move them sort of out to there.
Yeah.
You know, even that coil there, that's plenty far enough away
just
from the dump.
Just staring, mate.
It's too late in the afternoon.
It's beer o'clock.
Yeah, don't. Hey, Rashman. The other thing though is doing that, as we talked about, it does leave pretty much this whole space here free that we could make an overflow, some sort of overflow bottle.
Yep.
Which I don't mind being like fits sort of there on the dump. I can easily make a shield. It's not going to bother it too much.
Yeah, it's only an overflow anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
If the water's in there, it's already too hot. Like, that's pretty much how it goes. Oh, go, buddy. So anyway, so that's basically the latest in developments. So we're trying to get this ordered and get it here hopefully next week.
And that'll be my tasks over the Easter weekend. Will be remake that sorted. Obviously we've seen before, I got the dump pipe mostly sorted until we get a couple more.
So we've ordered a 3.5-inch V-band, as well as a 3.5-inch flex bellow. So the original plan, I bought a 4-inch flex bellow for these things, but because of the fact that we are turning it underneath the car before we transition to 4-inch, putting a 4-inch flex bellow after that transition, it's basically defeating the purpose of having the flex bellow in the dump in the first place. So our idea at the moment, obviously, where we want to put our V-band, which I think I went through last episode, so that you can get that piece in and out. And then on this transition on the bottom, like where the cone goes into the 3-inch bend on the underneath, we're going to try and put a 3.5-inch flex bellow there. Sorry, 3.5, not 3. But yeah, underneath where the cone transitions to 3.5 round, and then we've got the bend underneath at the dump. We're going to try and fit a flex bellow there. And that way it does its job. Anytime anything underneath in the exhaust gets a hit, you know, it's gonna absorb that and not transfer it up into the turbo. So the other thought was, if we can't fit it there, basically try and get it here. Either one's going to be tricky and hard, but if we get it here, it's still doing its job as well. For if something happens, something gets hit underneath, it's still taking a lot of that shock loading out rather than running it into the turbo and manifolds and everything else.
I hate it there. I'm going to make it work.
Yeah, I was about to say, guys, Rex hates it there so much he's going to make it fit where it needs to be.
I will go to extreme lengths to put it underneath. Like, I just reckon it's going to look stupid. It's already busy enough up here.
There's so many V-bands in this thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You've got to have like V-band, 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 V-band.
Yeah, it's like 4 V-bands in the top where you can see.
You've got an O2 port here somewhere. Then you have let's put a flex bellow just to...
Are you putting the second O2 port up here?
Yeah. I'm undecided. I was trying to think about that today in the car, where for what we want to use it for, it'd be easy enough just to take this narrow band out to chuck our wide band in.
Yeah, okay.
For tuning purposes, and then put it back in.
Yep.
That saves having to drill an extra hole and weld
I
an
reckon
extra
that's a good idea. May as well just do that. So
because it's a single turbo, it's in the single dump, so there's no problem with that. I'll just turn the closed loop.
So we had this idea that we definitely wanted to put another O2 bung in the dump pipe so that when we tune it, we can chuck our O2 for the dyno straight in rather than have the sniffer. It's just a better way to do things.
This is a 4-inch exhaust.
Yeah. So it's sort of, when we're building a car from the start, we sort of always try and do that on cars that we do the exhaust on. It's just a way more reliable thing than having the sniffer in it. So that's something that we had thought about, but as Rex was just saying, it's just going to be easy to remove the narrow band from the dump and just stick Arrow 2 in there. So that's happy days, and that's all sorted. So today is Thursday, tomorrow's Good Friday. So Rex just got off the phone with Dyno Dynamics, and seems like hopefully 2 weeks we'll have our dyno back. So anyway, as I was saying, today's Thursday, tomorrow's Good Friday. I'm actually going away for the weekend. I'm gonna go for a holiday with the fam, spend some time with the family away from work. Rex just decided he's gonna keep working through the weekend. So yeah, excited to see what he gets up to, but I'm not gonna be here to film it. But yeah, as you can see, this is where we are at the moment.
Oh, you come back and she'll be just ready to drive out of here, mate.
Ready to drive out, tuned and everything.
Yeah, done.
Who needs a dyno?
Yep, I tuned it by ear, mate. Tuned it by ear with my butt dyno.
I just jacked it up and sat it on a 44. Did bulk skids.
Yep, just tuned it with my butt dyno like all the internet experts.
Get the draggy out.
Yeah.
Heaps of data. Nah, no worries. Well, that's where we're at, guys. And yeah, see ya in the next clip when this thing's a bit further along, and hopefully I've had a haircut. That'd be cool. See if I can have a haircut while I'm away.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Look at this. It's out of control.
Yeah, how good's working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. All right, guys, I lied to you. I'm back on Friday morning. So for Rex to continue on what he wants to do over the weekend, we sort of need to get the bonnet on this thing. So I came here to sort of just help Rex with the bonnet, getting it on and off. So he's got to cut the bonnet so that it fits around the snorkel. He's got the template there that came with it. He's already marked it, as you can see. That's the cut we need to make on the bonnet, so Rex is going to make that. And I'm sort of just going to help him. Obviously, it's a lot easier with two people with a bonnet to fit and pull off and fit and pull off and stuff like that. So I help him do that, and I've got a few things in the car that I've got to unpack before I leave. But yeah, we'll see how this bonnet goes on this thing. Alright, first test fit. Need to take some more out.
Oh, that was good to me. What are you talking about?
Just smack it with a hammer a few times, should be right. Alright, so this was the third test fit. And we're going to try and do a little bit of trimming while it's on there, see if we can get it to fit without having to pull it off and put it back on again, because it's a pain in the ass. But it's way better to have like a nice fitting cut that's shaped properly rather than have huge big gaps. Blech, yucky. Probably just trim a little bit more out of the bottom skin there.
Yep. I think I need to take just a little bit out of probably that little midsection there, just for the pinch weld.
Righto, guys, that's the final cut. It just obviously needs to be tidied up, and then pinch weld goes on. Keep it all nice and fresh. But
The pinch weld they give you is friggin' huge, so I think for that, it actually touches that on its way past. I'll just use some of our smaller pinch weld for the top and maybe use their bigger stuff just for that double skin there.
Yep. Keep it nice and tight and tidy.
I'm trying to wonder if there's anything we can do about this gap to try and tidy that up a bit. About all you could do is sort of stuff it with foam.
Expander foam. Get some expansion shit.
Yeah, that'd work, I guess.
Just shove it in there and then fucking shape it. The only problem is if you want to get pinch weld on, you'd have to shape it like inside the skin, so it'd be a bit of a struggle.
I don't know. I'd probably just literally just stuff some foam in there, like some 50mm thick foam.
Yeah, okay.
Push it in there.
Well, we'll sort it out. But anyway,
worry about it later.
Bonnet's on and closes, which means Rex got his mark for the firewall, so he knows how high he can go. So
With the air oil separators.
Rex reckons he wants the bonnet off for the weekend, so...
Yeah, because, well, this has got to come out.
Over the weekend?
Hopefully.
Yeah, fair enough. Alright
See
then.
where I get to. Either way, it's going to be way more convenient to work on it with the bonnet off.
Yeah, it just means that if you get to a point where you're like, oh damn, I hope that's not the way of the bonnet, it's going to be really hard to get it back on for you.
There's nothing that's going to be like that from here on out. It's only that stuff up the back.
Alright, sweet, bonnet can come off. Alright guys, we're back after Easter, so you can see what we were talking about with that oil air separators moved and the coil packs relocated, and it is nice and symmetrical and pleases everyone's OCD. And that's what the heater lines look like. They're not actually on that end yet, but that's pretty much how they're going to be running for the most part. And as you can see on the covers, Rex as well there. We've got AN fittings, which then they go up to there. That goes up to there. That's going to look tough as. Nice and mostly symmetrical, and then obviously those go over to here, which we already talked about, onto those ones. So that's all happy days. It's going to look great. We actually just had arrived from Ben Brothers, our 3.5-inch flex bellow, as well as our 3.5-inch V-band clamp. So hopefully with this V-band on the end of that transition to oval, it can all fit up from underneath, and then hopefully we can fit our flex bellow on the bottom. This thing just keeps getting better and better. Seriously, really liking how all this is coming together. So yeah, you can see where Rex welded up all the breathers and stuff that we don't need on the covers for our full breather setup there. So it's going to be all nice and sealed and sorted out. I've also been basically full tilt trying to figure out how we're going to develop or what we're going to do to develop this high mount AC setup. I found the standard compressor that we want to use. I've got the part numbers and everything there to use a standard compressor that's essentially the exact same as this one that Mark's supply, except instead of having ear mounts, it's direct mount, still six pack front, same size clutch, but the fittings on the back are different as well on the head of the pump. The fittings are a little bit different too, which I think will suit better for our application for what we want to do. But yeah, should be able to come up with a pretty good kit there. The only problem really is that I don't think we're going to be able to obviously develop and get this kit sorted in time for this thing before it's ready to go out the door. So we'll have a chat to Bryce, the owner, about obviously without the high mount AC, we literally just have a stock standard LS1 belt route there. So we'll probably just get it ready, get it set up. It's still going to have a heater. He can take it. It's just not going to have AC immediately. In the meantime, obviously, we'll work on developing this kit, getting it sorted. Once we're pretty happy with it and we've got one together for him, we'll get this thing back here, get it installed, build some AC lines, and by that point, it'll have AC. But yeah, it's not one of those things that happens quick. That would, it would be freaking awesome if Marks would just sell us that kit, because we could just do it like that. But anyway, it's gonna take time to develop it, but it's full tilt. It's gonna happen. So making moves towards getting that sorted as well. Spoke to the owner this morning as well. His new guard should be here in the next few days, as well as his new A-pillar mold. He's getting rid of the gauges on the A-pillar. They're going, obviously, in favor of our little Defi all-in-one. So that should hopefully be here very soon too, so that we can get this thing really together. Righto guys, so Rex is cracking along with this with our new bits and bobs, but it is not working out the way that we really wanted it to, unfortunately. It just is what it is. So he's got the 3.5-inch V-band tacked on up here. As you can see, it's on there.
Still hot, don't touch that side.
Careful, they're still hot.
It's warm.
Warm? Anyway, I don't need to touch it, but look how good it is though. But anyway, so with that on there, it just doesn't fit up through that hole that we wanted it to fit in. It just doesn't fit, it's too big, which sucks. It does suck, it's a pain in the ass. Basically, what it's gonna be, there's not really much else we can do about that. Not only just from where we are at this point in the build, but also even just in general terms, there's really not much else we can do. Basically what it's gonna come down to is that section, that dump pipe, to get that in and out of the car, you're going to have to remove this manifold, this side, to get it in and So dump pipe's going to have to go in, manifold's going to have to go on. So obviously we always aim, as you've been watching through this whole build, we strive for making things easy to work with, easy to access, get in and out. That's, you know, it's something we put a lot of emphasis on when we build a car. But unfortunately, there is nothing else that we can do about it. So
yeah, you can only work with what space is there.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to be done, really.
Yep. Well, like we talked about, the fact that we have that V-band right there means that this section here is very easy to just remove, which means that anything that should ever have to happen to the engine, as far as needing to get access to the rocker gear, all of this stuff will still be really easily accessed just by removing this piece of dump. Getting at all the plugs and stuff should still all be very reasonable as far as a turboed LS goes. So, you know, we've done the best we can to make it as accessible and serviceable as we possibly can, but unfortunately, to get that little section of dump out, the manifold's got to come out, and that just is what it is. But yeah, like we talked about, there really shouldn't be that many situations where that piece of fabrication has to be removed. So that's the idea, is make the best out of the situation that we've got. So that's how it is at the moment. It sucks as much as it sucks though. We've done what we can, so it is what it is. So getting this dump pipe in and out, up and down, is like millimeters clearance. Can just get it in and out. It's crazy. But you can get it in and out, which is the important thing. There we go. Just.
So close.
So tight. But it does come in and out. So that's the important thing, which is happy days. So Rex welded the AN6 fitting on this side of the sump for the air oil separators for the drains, which we talked about in a previous episode. But since moving the air oil separators to the center instead of mounting them over here like we first had anticipated, and with where that dump's got to come up and down from where that fitting is welded on the sump, we've decided Rex is probably just going to cut that off and weld it flat again, so that, because otherwise you're going to have to undo that every time you want to get the dump in and out, which, as we talked about, hopefully is really not very often at all. But either way, because these are in the center now, there's not really any need for that to be on this side, and cutting it off and welding it just means we get a little bit more room to get that dump in and out. So going to cut that off there, weld it flat. Going to put the drains for those on the other side of the sump now, which just keeps this side a bit more clear to get that dump in and out. But anyway, the important thing is that it does come in and out. And as we talked about last episode, the idea would be that you hopefully pretty much hardly ever have to do that ever. So fingers crossed that's how it goes. But that's pretty much the dump sorted, completed. As you can see, Rex just has to finish welding it out, but that's what the dump looks like. So we've got our transition into oval, where it has to be oval, transitions back out into a flexi, then we've got our turn, and then a little bit of straight there, and then it transitions to 4-inch at the end of the dump. So that's all happy days. Yeehaw. So now Rex can weld it out, and that'll be that. So anyway, millimeter precision fitment. Like we said at the start though, obviously that transition to 4-inch, like we said, is just because 4-inch is all we can get in the way of materials, mufflers, cats, the rest of the exhaust and stuff. If we could get the material, we would have just made the whole thing out of 3.5. It doesn't particularly need to be 4-inch, but well, it does need to be out of the fact that we can't get any 3.5. So anyway, that's that. But Rex will weld that out now, and then we'll get on finishing our exhaust. But in the meantime, show you what Rex has done here, which we did talk about briefly. I think I put it in an episode, but this is just AN6 weld on tube. Well, it's not weld on tube specifically, it is just AN6 tube that we are welding on. So M6, sorry, not AN. Yeah.
They're just tube nuts.
Too much stuff. So yeah, tube nuts that Rex is welding onto the manifold. And the idea is Rex is going to weld these onto a few points so that we can make heat shields that actually bolt to these. So that the heat shield is not actually against the manifold, gives it a little bit of air gap, which allows it to work a lot better. And also just makes it real nice and neat and tidy. and very professional. So there's going to be a fair few positions where those are going to be welded to manifolds and things so that we can make really nice heat shields. Not only that, but there's going to be a few positions where those are welded just to other things, other pipes and stuff, so that we have somewhere to use P-clamps to actually clamp things like lines and wiring and stuff like that. So it just makes it a little bit more professional, a little bit more nicer than just zip ties and stuff, and allows heat shields to actually work a lot better. So this is what we'll be using for heat shielding, this barricading. You would have seen it before most likely if you're in the performance cars at all. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be using as heat shielding. And those tube nuts that I just showed you on that manifold, that's where the heat shield is going to go, which is going to protect the power steering pump. So that heat shield is going to protect this stuff here. There's going to be another one on the dump pipe, which is going to protect the clutch slave. So that heat shield is going to be protecting that clutch area. Make sure that we don't get any, that doesn't get ridiculously hot either. There's going to be some on the chassis, or based off the chassis, which is going to be protecting the engine mounts from the manifolds as well. So that's going to keep the engine mounts out of harm's way, away from this heat. So just things like that, things that we've learnt from the past of where you really just can't allow this heat just to get out of hand. Yeah, a few things like that you just really need to make sure is shielded and keep it cool as cool as possible. A million birds in here.
Out!
Go away. All welded out by not fabricators. Mr. Not Fabricator.
Yeah.
Team No Fab.
No fab at all.
I do. No Fab Fabrication. No Fab Race Fabrication. It's getting all naked.
We're going backwards now.
So, we're at that super cool, exciting time of the build. Sorry guys, you probably couldn't just hear me over that battery ratchet. We're at a super cool, exciting part of the build where it's pretty much time for all the dummy stuff to come out. And time to start putting all the proper stuff. Put it all back together for the final time, which is always awesome. Especially after you've dummy fit things a million times. So Rex has had the oven blaring all day, as you can see. Some nice stuff in there, cooking. So the turbo cord, the turbo housing's been painted. Rex has been steady painting, getting stuff prepped pretty much all day. So he painted the rocker covers as well and baked them too. So painted them silver. They're looking nice. They've been baked in the oven as well. So yeah, just getting stuff ready. So the intercooler mounts outside, it's been painted as well. Just basically stripping it all down, painting everything up, get it all back together. Because yeah, basically the rest of the exhaust and everything can be finished off once everything's in the car. For the final time, obviously. Honestly, it's probably better, because that way the clutch line, everything's sort of all in there. So yeah, that's where we're at with it. That's what we're up to. That's what Rex has been doing all day while I've been in the engine room. Huff and brake clean.
Yeah. God, it's terrible in there.
Get a little loopy. Righto guys, so we've actually decided to go in another direction. As you can see, we've pulled the LS out and we've just installed a Rex in here. So Rex is going to be running the whole car now. So Rex has been doing his squats. He's got it sorted. He reckons he's going to run the old patrol. Good old beach trip. So with the dummy engine out, prior to us obviously fitting the final engine, there is a little bit of stuff that needs to happen in the engine bay while there is nothing in here. So like we showed you at the start of the build, the first episode I think, where Rex welded the AN6 flare on the fuel line at the back, he has to now do the fuel line up the front here. So
yeah,
has to weld this. It's really not a fun job. It's obviously really hard to get at. It's upside down, and you know, old fuel line doesn't particularly weld that well. So props to Rex for what do you call it? Persisting?
Persevering.
Persevering. But yeah, camera's gonna go off while it's welding because there's gonna be lots of shit thrown and profanities.
I won't.
Yes, there will.
I'm just gonna have to be very patient with it and careful. Though the back one wasn't too bad in the end.
Yeah.
it actually welded fairly nicely, so I'm hoping I've got it undone as far back as it goes before it disappears beside the fuel tank, the sub tank.
So hopefully enough movement in there to get some good angles.
Yeah, I can see most of it. Just that backside's going to be the worst. I may have to get contorted.
Uh-oh.
The old ankles up on my back deal.
Are you gonna make any heat shields while it's all out?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. So yeah.
Once that actually goes back, clips back into place, I want to make a shield for that.
Yep.
It's going to have a 90 off it.
Yep.
For the fuel line that points basically straight back into here, and it'll actually come
up around,
and around. Yep. But just even it's actually a fair way from the manifold, but I would rather be safe, so I'll just make a heat shield that just sort of guards that sort of portion of it.
Yep.
And I've marked, that's basically where I'm going to make the heat shield
for the engine
mount and to protect the brake line a bit, even though it's the same, where it probably doesn't need it, but we're already doing it anyway.
Yep.
Same with this side, a heat shield for that engine mount. And I want to put an extra little mount in the chassis there for the power steering line when it goes in.
Oh, yep.
Other than that, I think that's it for heat shield.
Beautiful.
And that'll be, there's a couple of other things I need to do though, like I'll need to connect these breather lines. I've just bent them down out of the way. I'll just need to reconnect them to the gearbox and transfer, and one of them for this front diff that wasn't even hooked up anyway.
Yep.
So I'll sort all them out too. Obviously it's going to be easy without the engine.
Yep.
Other than that though, I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah, you are. So,
except for this wiring here that's been run over and under, and which is a bit of a mess. That runs back to, obviously there was a second battery at some point under the tray. It's not in use anymore, but I'll just leave that stuff there.
Yep, no worries. Could be. So as I think we did already talk about, all of the fuel lines now, apart from that hard line, which is going to have an AN6 flare at each end, is all going to be AN6 braided, which is obviously really nice to use for fuel lines, very reliable. But one thing that sucks about braid is that you sort of need special, or you don't need special tools, but it's hard to get hold of, and it's annoying to terminate if you're not in like a workshop, which obviously for a four-wheel drive can be a problem. So what we're going to do is, although we're making all those fuel lines out of braid, we're actually going to, in a little spares kit that we're going to give to the customer for the vehicle when he takes it, we're actually just going to include a couple of AN6 push lock fittings and just some AN6 hose, like just some push lock hose. So that way there'll just be a length of it and a few fittings in there. That way if he ever gets stuck and bursts a fuel hose or ruptures it or something, if something happens and he damages a fuel hose, he can just chop his push lock to length that he needs, whack his push lock fittings on, and replace it with just a push lock section, which should obviously be enough for him to get to wherever he needs to go, get home, get back to us to fix it properly, you know. But it just makes it easy for him to actually sort himself out if he ever does get stuck out bush or out whoop or something. There's an easy way for him to sort himself out. All right, guys, more presents. Cheers, Raceworks. Yeah, look at what rocked up. Starlink, boy. How good's that? We're gonna actually have internet here. That's gonna be sick. So anyway, get that on the roof ASAP. Anyway, she's yeah, getting naked, getting super naked. Rex's been doing everything he needs to do. We've got our little weld on AN6 down there. It's all done. As you can see, nutserts in the chassis, ready for some heat shields. It's all cracking along here. So the other development that's been made is we are no longer developing our own Highman AC setup. So after obviously me talking about the Malax Motorsport one that I found in that video, but the fact that I wasn't too sure about whether it was going to fit and didn't want to take the gamble, I have since had someone reach out to send me some photos. They are running that exact Malex Motorsport kit. It's actually an ICT bracket from the States. So they're running that exact kit on their Patrol, and they reckon they've got about 10 mil from the battery. I haven't asked them yet what mounts they were running, so I do need to confirm with them that, but the kit does fit according to those people. And then my other reservation with that particular kit was the fact that the compressor was not going to be big enough, not going to cut it for the size of the AC system in the Patrol and everything else. But I actually had someone else comment, I can't remember exactly who it was, but someone commented on the YouTube video and explained that apparently those mini ones actually have more pistons and can, I don't know, I don't want to get too far into it, but by the sounds of it, those reservations I had were for nothing. Apparently, yeah, it seems like the mini compressor is going to do just fine for what we want to do. So, you know, just going to buy the Malex Motorsport kit. It's one of those things. Developing these things is cool and all, but if you don't have to, that is days of drawing, sketching, research and development, you know, prototyping, making sure it fits. You know, there's so much time and work in it, which if we had the time, I wouldn't mind. But when there's something on the market that you can already buy 10 times out, like every single time, it's going to end up cheaper in the long run. So I'm going to just order that. So hopefully get his AC sorted ASAP before he gets the car back. All right, so it's time to get this thing just about buttoned up so that we can get it in the car. Sump's ready to go on. We've got our covers ready to go. We're just trying to find, we definitely got some new gaskets for these, but we're trying to find where the hell they ended up.
Oh, it's impossible in this place.
Yeah, it's getting pretty wild.
I had it all here, and then
we need more space.
Pushed your way in with this RB nonsense.
Yeah, I had to build this beautiful forged RB25.
Why would the intake gaskets, those intake seals, have been here, but the flap and rocker covers gaskets have disappeared? We haven't built any others that we would have stolen them for yet.
Nice.
Photo shoot opportunity, that's all I was doing.
Yeah, just for a photo shoot. That is nice. Nice Blake song. What is that, a hockey?
Oh, no.
Alrighty guys, so I think that's probably going to do it for another episode. I've literally, again, I can't remember when this episode started, so it could be long, could be short, I cannot remember. So, anyway, if it wasn't up to your standard, I apologise, but I'm sure that you enjoyed it. I bloody hope so anyway. So, next thing, pretty big important one, is we've got to get the dummy block back on the crane. We're going to have to get the bell housing and everything on it. Rex wants to dummy up the whole hot side. The whole hot side setup's going to get dummied up. So that, like with the bell housing and everything on the back of the motor, so that Rex can make the heat shield for the clutch while everything's dummied up outside of the car, because that's going to be a lot easier than trying to do that in the car where we've got to get at. So that's the next big thing. But after that, it's time to start smacking this thing together. It's time to start getting the motor in. So that's going to be next episode. Hope you're looking forward to that. Hope you're enjoying this build. We absolutely are. We are absolutely wrapped with this thing. We can't wait to see it start coming together and get finished off. Super excited for this one. So thanks for watching as always, guys. Much appreciated. Smash like, smash subscribe if you're new here, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss anything. We will see you on the next one. Peace out. See you. Bye.